TJ Hockenson and the Minnesota Vikings have agreed on a new contract, a contract extension anyway. Adam Schefter, I saw the tweet by him, in which case he said that Hockenson will be one of the highest paid tight ends. That's interesting. There is a difference between one of and the highest paid. So saying one of, I was saying, all right, he didn't break the threshold of Darren Waller's $17 million annual average value. So it's going to be somewhere in the top 5, maybe even top 3, in between there. So then I started playing the waiting game. What are the details of this contract? Well, we got it. 4 years, $68.5 million, $42.5 million guaranteed. That's an average annual value of $17.125 million. So that does break Darren Waller's contract for TJ Hockenson to be the highest paid tight end in the league. A difference of $0.125 million. It's not that big of a deal. If anything, I think it's an ego thing for that player to say, yeah, at one point I was the highest paid player at my position. I'm not going to be up in arms about it. A player of his caliber, someone who is top 5, worst case, fringe top 5 at his position, when it's time for a new contract, more likely than not, you're going to make him the highest paid for a temporary period of time. It's much like Jalen Hurts. Is he the best quarterback in the league? No. He's the best quarterback in the NFC, but I would say he's top 5, maybe top 7, worst case scenario, but he was temporarily the highest paid quarterback in the league at one point this offseason for about as long as a YouTube ad runs before you go ahead and skip it, until Lamar Jackson went ahead and trumped that. That's just the price of admission. The contract, the way that I read it, a 4-year extension that should run him through the 2027 season. Two things I'm excited about with this extension. Number one, it's another distraction eliminated. First was Danielle Hunter and the holdout/hold in. Then there was TJ Hockenson. Now the focus will shift to Justin Jefferson, him getting a contract extension, which I saw the reports that the Vikings are really eager to get this done. Let's get it out the way. Okay, fine. And you should. The second thing that I'm excited about with this extension, and not even with the extension, just with TJ Hockenson in general, has nothing to do with the money. He has now had, besides the 10 games he played for the Vikings last year, learning the Kevin O'Connell system on the fly, he has now had, in addition to that, a whole offseason to study the playbook, to get familiar with this system. Because getting traded mid-season, that's got to be really hard, to where his first game with the Vikings was, if I'm not mistaken, it was the game at Washington. So I can only imagine Kirk Cousins calling a play. All right, in the huddle. All right, 22 Triceratops Tupperware, zig right. All right, on three, break. All right, Hockenson, on this play, I need you to do a 7-yard slant to the inside. 7 yards exactly, and you're good. So basically every play, I'm sure it wasn't that extreme, but learning that on the fly is really, really hard. But what I find hilarious about this is because the last time I talked about TJ Hockenson and how he's looking for a new deal, the Vikings are looking to get something done. The two sides were reportedly far apart at one point. The ear infection and the backache. I'm not saying that he's faking it, but it's just, is this some sort of secret hold-in that he's doing, not participating in drills? Tom Pelissero put out a tweet, and I'm going to read this verbatim. TJ Hockenson hasn't participated in training camp while dealing with some ailments and awaiting a new deal. Now he'll be back in drills and have time to ramp up for week 1 against the Bucs. So if you have an ear infection or a backache, you don't need any pills or medication. talk to your doctor about a new contract. And they do a commercial. You know how they have those prescription commercials where they show people having a good time? They're going to have TJ Hockenson just out on a river somewhere fishing with a big old smile on his face and buying some cookie at a coffee shop. Side effects include making it rain for no reason. I'm healthy now. I'm ready to return. Good for TJ Hockenson and the Vikings. I'm glad that domino has fallen. I want to talk about some roster moves that were made yesterday. They cut Jalen Reagor, which reportedly they said that the Vikings received trade interest, or they received some phone calls on Reagor. Maybe that was just the Vikings trying to put the word out there. Hey, we're receiving interest. So one of you better get on it while it's hot. And they ended up waiving him. The corresponding move was they signed Myles Gaskin. And I talked about how the Vikings, they need to sign a running back. Who knows if Kene Nwangu is healthy? So that leaves you only with, especially after cutting Dwayne McBride, that leaves you only with Alexander Mattison and Ty Chandler. You need another running back. And when I was thinking you need to sign another running back, I was thinking a body, someone who's just there. You don't have to be flashy, just be decent and competent. This signing of Myles Gaskin that's big time. He is a very, very solid football player. And I mean that in the biggest compliment possible. It's almost the equivalent, in some ways, apples to oranges, but still equivalent to Latavius Murray. You don't want to make him a bell cow running back. Latavius Murray, less is more in the case of Murray and in Myles Gaskin. When it comes to running between the tackles, Latavius Murray, less is more. He'll get you 4.2 yards per carry, and he's fine. The more you rely on him, it gets a little bit worse. Myles Gaskin, it's the same thing, but in the passing game. He's a really, really good receiver out of the backfield. I saw him play in Miami. He was legit for them. He's familiar with Brian Flores. I'm pretty sure he played in Miami while Flores was the head coach for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. But this is a very solid option, not just a body, but someone you can actually use. They also signed an offensive tackle, David Quessenberry. So this is going to be for part of your depth of the offensive line. And I was thinking, well, what is the corresponding move? Who are you cutting? And I didn't see any more cuts, but I did see, okay, this makes sense. Kene Nwangu was placed on IR. So he's going to miss at least the first 4 games. Your thoughts in the comments section below. As a reminder, we're getting closer to the regular season starting. This channel, we will be doing live streams during every Vikings regular season and playoff game. If I need some moderators, some of you volunteered and I went ahead and added you. If you are interested and you didn't mention it before, go ahead and put it in the comments section below.